It's time for Catching Up with Carley, presented by Meijer. I'm Daniella Bruce, filling in for Carley Johnston today, and joining me is Jane Garcia, community activist, native Detroiter. Jane, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today ahead of Hispanic Heritage Month.
It was our pleasure. I mean, it's just so important that we're celebrating a whole month of the contributions that our Hispanic community has contributed to this country, and specifically our community. It's my pleasure.
As I mentioned, you're from the Detroit area and have been involved in the community for many years. So I want to start this off. Why don't you give us a little biography? Tell us about yourself and some of the work that you do.
Well, I've been involved with LACE since I was 19 years old. My in-laws actually sat on the board when they first was founded by Father Kern from Holy Trinity. So it's been it was founded in 1965 and incorporated in 69. So we've been involved a long time, our family, with LACE, and it's been my privilege. It's made a lot of difference for our communities where they can actually be comfortable and trusting to come to LACE, Latin Americans for Social and Economic Development, which is truly what it stands for. So it's been a real joy and a privilege to serve this community and all the issues that we've gone through a lot of issues in the years since I've been involved.
So it seems like you really have a passion for the type of work that you do, Jane, but is there anything specifically that made you want to do this?
Well, I had 5 children. That had a lot to do with it. When you're over the national average, you want to make sure there's programs for children that are going to impact their lives. My children were a little bit more better off than some. My husband had them activities. We were involved at Clark Park in our backyard here. So it was real important to keep young people active and involved so that they would not get into trouble. And we thought that that was an issue. We had a great leader named Hank Aguirre back in the 80s who gave jobs to our kids and made sure that the ball players from the Detroit Tigers were always involved in one way or another. We had the privilege of meeting a lot of the people from 1968 and 84. So we've had a long history with the Detroit Tigers, and we believe that sports has a lot to do with the growth of our community and to keeping people focused, active in sports.
Jane, you mentioned
Along
the Tigers.
with reading.
Yes, that too. We've got to do more of that. We all need to.
Right.
You mentioned the Tigers, and this weekend would have actually been the 15th annual Fiesta Tigres, which is their weekend celebration of the Hispanic heritage and Latino coaches and baseball players that have impacted baseball and really every sport everywhere around the world, the impact that they have made. And unfortunately, they can't have the fans at the ballpark like they normally do due to the certain circumstances that we're under. But there are still a lot of virtual events going on that will be really exciting. And I know that Saturday, there is a virtual first pitch that you know a thing or two about.
Right. It's coming from our chairman of the board, Ago Benavides. And, like I said, we've had a long history with the Tigers. This past January, the players came, and especially the Latino players this past winter had a great experience with our youth. It was very inspiring, and they enjoyed asking the questions of the players, So it's been a real enhancement and involvement. And I think that makes a lot of difference. We've had it for years, but I think it's very involving right now when we see our children can get lost in the programs and they're not here. They get involved. The Tigers actually made a visit. They took pictures with them. It's just it enhanced the program. It enhanced the community that someone cares about their future and in getting involved with them. So that's very important to us.
Well, you touched on it a little bit there, Jane, but the Tigers, as I said, they always honor the Hispanic heritage with an entire weekend. And as we know, there is a huge Hispanic presence in Major League Baseball. How important is it to you and the Hispanic community that Major League Baseball does things like this and they make sure that they are recognizing the Hispanic heritage?
It's very important. We have a young man, or he's probably would say young Al Avila, who came in and talked about his future and talked about the community and how they could get involved, how baseball changed their lives. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about that people actually come in and talks about the impact that sports has, like baseball and other sports. But that extra touch that they went that extra mile meant a whole lot to our community, that they cared about us and that they wanted them to continue to be focused, studying, and sports, and hopefully baseball.
Lastly, what are some of the resources that people around the Detroit area have where they can learn about Hispanic heritage?
Well, during the restaurants are celebrating. The pandemic changed our lives. There's no
Mhm.
way it didn't change. They have a lot of people celebrating outside, and that's important. That distance, that social distance, our mask are beautifully decorated. All that stuff. We keep our children online, virtual training them, and the Tigers has helped out with that. We give them, they had hats, they had things that they gave them, how well they were doing in school. All of that is a promotion. But during Hispanic Month, it seems to be we should do it all year around, right? We should make sure that our culture continues to be
Definitely.
at least viewed. But I think it's very important right now during this process that young people feel they're not left out. It's bad enough that they can't go to school. Everybody can't go to school, but I think it's very important that extra mile that the Tigers are going. I think is commendable, and I think other people should do the same.
Definitely. The Tigers always do an amazing job. Unfortunately, it all has to be virtual this year, but it will still be awesome. So, fans, make sure that you are checking out tigers.com for updates, and you can follow the Tigers on all social media channels where you can also get the updates for this weekend's Fiesta Tigres
Oh,
virtual edition. Jane,
and I
thank
think
you so
that,
much.
I just want to thank everybody at the Tigers team, including Elaine, who goes that extra mile calling us and letting us know about things. I think it's an L. I mean, L is just meant he's just great. But I just think that it's very important that you reached out and included us. So gracias.
De nada, right? There we
Right.
go.
Go
Jane, thank
Tigers.
you. Go Tigers. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Jane. We really appreciate it. And a big thank you to Meijer for presenting Catching Up with Carley this week and every week right here on the Word on Woodward.